Welcome back to the Arbitress YouTube channel. Today we'll be learning how to make a lantern sleeve. Okay, a lantern sleeve is similar to a bishop sleeve, but you'll see the difference by the time we're through with this tutorial. So I have my basic bodies drafted. It's not a full body, it's just a half part, and we'll be using slash and spread method to achieve this sleeve. Okay, so now the first thing I'm going to do now is to create my slash lines, and I'll be dividing this into 4. Okay, so I'll have 4 slash lines. So if it's going to be a full, if I'm going to be using a full scale, what this means is that it would have been 8 lines. I hope you understand what I mean by that. Remember, this is just half of the sleeve, it's not the full sleeve. Okay, so now I've divided this into 4 successfully. I have 1, 2, 3 and 4. Okay, now the next thing for me now is to measure the lower part of the sleeve, because this sleeve is not going to be gathered with an elastic. It is still going to remain the actual wrist measurement. So now it depends on what you want to work with. For me, I'll be working with 5 inches. So from the M line, I'll be measuring 5 inches, and then I'll make it into a straight line, and then I'm going to cut it off. So I'll repeat these numbers here now so that I can see it by the time I cut this off. So now that I've cut this off, I'll start to slash my sleeve. So we've done lots of slash and spread on the channel, so I'm sure by now you understand what I mean. So I'm going to slash, but not completely, each of the lines. So for the upper part, I'm going to be starting from this bottom up to the armhole area like this, and for the lower part, I'm going to slash from the demarcation. Remember, I demarcated it, then I will take it down to the wrist. Okay, so now after slashing these lines, I'll start to spread them on a fresh paper. But it is important for you to note, because we are still going to be sewing this to this. So whatever it is that you're using to spread here is what you have to maintain to spread it on the lower part also, so that by the time you are ready to sew it back, it won't be, this has cut off. So I'm going to hold it together with a pin, with a sellotape. So whatever it is that you use to spread here, let's say I have decided to spread this by maybe 2 inches each. It means this exact 2 inches is what I'll be using to spread it also on the lower part, so that by the time I'm through, I'll have the same thing here and here. It will be easy for me to join them together. Okay, so now I've already successfully spread this on my paper, and I'm spreading it by 2.5 inches each, like this, a space of 2.5 inches, as you can see. And what I used there was what I used to spread it on the lower part, to 2.5 inches. Okay, so now I'm just going to connect my lines together, and then I'll take it over to my fabric and then cut it out on my fabric like this, and then on the lower part also. But if you notice, because this is just half scale of a sleeve, the point where we labeled for is our center fold. So it means when I'm cutting on fabric, that point has to be on fold, so that it's going to give me a full sleeve. If you don't put it on fold, what you're going to be getting is half. Okay, this is what I'm trying to explain. You can see that this place, I did not spread it, I just maintained it as a straight line, because this is our center fold. So this is the center of the sleeve. So which means when I want to cut it on my fabric, I have to put this side on fold before I place it on my fabric. That is what I'm trying to explain. So now I'll take this to my fabric now, and then cut out exactly what I have here on my fabric. Okay, So that is why it is important for you to label it. Because I've labeled it 4, it's easy for me to know that this is the center fold here because of the cap's height here that is lower. But in the case of the under part, it is very similar. So if it is not well labeled, you may mistakenly place number 1 for number 4, and the number 4 is the fold point, not number 1. So it is very important for you to label it so that you will easily get the placement when you want to cut it on your main fabric. And like I said, the wrist measurement remain the same, as you can see. So now I'll take it to the table now and cut out my fabric exactly like this. Okay, so like I said, I've put my fabric on fold, and the fold point, which is the number 4, is where I put on fold, and then I've cut out my pattern on it. This is the lower part, and this is the upper part. Okay, the center fold is on fold. So once you open it up, this is what you will have. So now I'm going to take this to the sewing machine now and then sew it together by just pinning the lower part to the upper part and making sure that they all align. And since we use the same seam allowance, the same slash allowance for it, they will all align. So I'm going to pin it together now and then sew them and bring it back to show us. So I've taken it to the machine and I've sewn it round, and you can see, like I said, it has to match. Once you follow the same slash line, spread line for them, if you measure it and you follow it, it will match accurately like this. Okay, so I pinned it together and then I sew it round. So after sewing it, this is what it looks like. As you can see, I can see that the wrist is going to fit because we did not tamper with the wrist measurement. So now the last thing to do now is to hem it. You can either hem this using a bias. Remember, it's now a cuff, so it may not be easy for you to just fold it in. So you can use a bias to turn it in at the hemline, and then we take it together like this and then sew the underarm with the allowance that we use. And as you can see that the underarm also matches very well. Okay, so I'm going to take it to the machine now and then sew it. Okay, so I've sewn it using the allowance that I left. As you can see, the same line. So I'm going to turn it out now to see what it looks like. So you may not see it well now, I still hang it on the mannequin, but you can see that it's just forming like a lantern for us. If you really want it to stand out very well, you can also add a gum stay to it so that it can just stand on its own like this. But I'll take it to the sewing machine, to the mannequin now to show us what this looks like. Okay, so we can see what the sleeve is looking like. You can see it's just like a lantern. Can you see it? Okay, so how big you want it to be depends on how much you spread it, and also if you want it to even stand to be really stiff and stand out small, you can also add maybe a gum stay to it or a collar stay to make it really stand out. It's very beautiful, it's unique, and it's very simple to make. Thank you for watching. Let us know any challenges you may encounter in the comment section. See you in the next one. Bye.